Hey there, Vernacular Faithful. Redcoat here. I have been, out and about trying to do a bunch of things to shore myself up outside of building video games and such. Just trying to make a living in America while the economy goes and all that stuff. I know there's plenty of people who've managed to achieve success in the space, and I'm trying to figure that out. But in the meantime, figured I'd record a little video talking about one of the things I've amassed over the years. Now, granted, it's an old little collection uh, because I used to be a really, really, really huge gamer when I was young, and I mean, I've kind of fallen off on that in recent years, and I wanted to get back into it, but time and other elements keep getting in the way. Oh, with that said, over the years, because of this, that, and the other thing, I ended up having to sell a large, well, not large, all of my collections. I used to have more than more than 100 games, maybe closer to like more than 300 games to my name, in the N64, Game Boy, Game Boy, GameCube, and SNES, all of those libraries. Um, and just over time, due to, this roommate not paying rent or this job not turning out to be all that, not turning out to last all that long, tech contracts and all that stuff. And, well, various more harrowing situations, let's say, I ended up just losing it over time. But one of the things that did stick with me was the instruction booklets. And normally, when I was selling the games, I'd sell them to pawn shops and that sort of thing, and they didn't understand what the value of these things were. And so, and I mean, to be fair, uh, while they were very valuable to me at the time, I didn't know how much some of the games would go for at the end of the day. But so they didn't understand the value of the games, and they didn't care if you got them in one piece or another. So I just kept the books with me. And I still have a bunch of them. So I figured I'd do a spot every once in a while, just kind of go through a couple of them. So, of course, the one I showed you right here, this was Super Mario All Stars. So, this was the first game that I got with my SNES. It came with the SNES, along with Super Mario World, which I don't even know if that if that instruction booklet is still in a piece where I can actually show it. But um, one of the things that I think is interesting about these booklets is the fact that, I mean, they call back to a time when you couldn't you couldn't expect someone to boot up your game and just learn everything about it in there. The technology wasn't at the point where we could really fully install tutorialization such that it was just natural. And so what you would do instead is you'd have this little booklet that would tell you just like, hey, this is how things go. This is how the game works. And I remember as a kid, I would, while I was on my way to some place or other, being driven around to this choir performance or this soccer game or that orchestral thing, I'd break out one of these guys and just read through them because they were fun to read through. They were fun to look at. You look at these little, cute little pictures, and there's like a nice little style to it, and there's just little blurbs of information. And I think there's a lot to be learned from how these are structured, because you'll notice in all of these, one of the things that you'll notice, and this is from paragraph structure, like look at the size, how much space this actually takes up. And this is just the story. Like, granted, Super Mario Brothers is a very simple story. Just save the princess. Like, let's see. I don't know if I can get this to actually focus on it closely, but it's like, the Mushroom Kingdom was a peaceful place until the fateful day that Bowser used his twisted magic to invade it. Bowser turned most of the Mushroom Kingdom's people into rocks, bricks, and mushrooms for some reason. Not quite sure what. He even kidnapped Princess Toadstool and held her captive in his huge castle. When the Mario brothers, Mario and Luigi, heard this, man, I gotta figure out how to get this thing to actually focus. Oh well. Heard this, they knew they needed to do something. They decided to battle Bowser and his evil minions to save the princess. Can they do it? Now, what's interesting here is they end it with that question. And what I think is one thing that's important about that, and I suspect I'm going to find this repeated in a number of the rest of these, is it says, can they do it? Because while this is their story, you're the one playing it, and you're going to decide whether or not they can. It's a question. It's really not them saying, can they do it? They're saying, can you do it? So, anyway, yeah. But like I said, paragraph, very small, very small. And you got over here, like, again, small paragraph. This is the goal. This is how you jump. The longer you hold the B button, the higher you jump. And just a picture of the guy going, when you're running. It's very small, very small, very small. And there's a lot of information that's being conveyed here. Some of it is just images, right? Hey, it's a pipe. You go into them. It's a pipe. You push down on top of it. You go in it, right? And again, so it's like there's a lot of this. It's a combination of showing and telling, right? And I always love these. I always love these. In particular, if the Super Mario World one is in a good enough condition, I might show it. But I always love the power up cycles that they show in different Mario games. Those were always fun for me to look at. But yeah, that's the whole deal. You got Mario Bros. 2, of course. Again, short little blurbs, just enough to get you in there. Because really, the meat and potatoes of all of this is what you're doing. It's also interesting because when you look at all of this, you realize even when you're playing it, the game seems really simple, but there's a lot of different systems that they had to make decisions about here. Just a lot of just little things, little decisions they had to make all throughout regards to what this game is going to be. But yeah, like here, you go for mushroom and then you can go in either direction and then you can swap between the two of them. And then you can become invincible Mario. He's shiny. This is a lot harder to show what that actually looks like in game. Which I think that was probably a question when the artist was like, okay, so he strobes between a bunch of different colors. How am I supposed to show this in the book? So they're just like, okay, he's shiny. We're just gonna do that. Uh and there's some reused art here, which makes sense. Is another thing. Um but yeah, so I just wanted to share that here. And this is just one of many. Oh, I love that's one of the things. I do love the art style of these. I know you can't really see it very well with the way the camera is, but that's okay. Um, there is something about how what they managed to do with the pixel art that's very unique. It's specific to it, and it does one of the things that you really want with a game that it's going to be outstripped later on, which is it produces a visual style that endures the test of time. Like I can go back and play Super Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario Brothers 2, and even the original Super Mario Brothers, and I can still enjoy it. And a part of it is due to the nature of the abstraction and just how it's presented. and that there's already a neat interestingness to that. So anyway, yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. And I mean, I have a couple others. I had originally intended to go through three of these, but I realize now just going through one of them takes a lot of time. So I suppose I'll bring up another one in our next bit. And as I go through, we'll probably also note things about the generation that this came out in and how that's influencing the nature of the instruction booklet. But yeah, it's something that we don't do anymore is make instruction booklets. I mean, over the years, it went down from an instruction booklet to a pamphlet to a link in the bottom of your screen that said go to the website and read the wiki. And there's some, I mean, I'm not going to say that that's a bad thing that we've gotten that way because now you have a wiki that updates on the regular so people can just get more information. And at this point, the developer doesn't even necessarily have to make the wiki, but people will just make that on their own, which is fascinating. Um, I mean, don't get me wrong, you still need to teach people what your game's about, what you should be doing in it, or at least have the game be built such that this is naturally intuitive. Talk what is it, that years old video from Ego Raptor about how Mega Man X does this. And I mean, there's plenty of other people who commented on the idea of intuitive teaching, and how that all works. But anyway, I digress. I always loved looking through these books and would do that on the regular when I was a kid. So I figured, and I have this shoebox just full of all that's left of the memories that I had to sell to keep myself alive. So figured I'd go through those and share them with you because, I mean, other than the fact that I am writing a book on game design and all that jazz, I want to make sure it's worth something. Anyway, I'll catch you guys later. Play the games you want to play, boyos. This is Redco, signing off.